Waterfront sellers often think buyers are paying for the house, but many times buyers are actually paying for the lot, the view, and the water access. And this creates one of the biggest mistakes I see waterfront sellers make over and over again, especially here in Jacksonville. They price their home based on emotional attachment and memories, instead of how waterfront buyers actually evaluate the value. And unfortunately, that can cause a waterfront home to sit on the market much longer than it should. Now, I completely understand why this happens. Homes are emotional properties. People raise their families there. They watch sunsets there. They remember many boat launches from the dock. They've hosted holidays and gatherings there. These homes often represent years, sometimes decades of memories. But buyers look at the waterfront homes very differently than sellers do, and understanding that difference is incredibly important if you're thinking about selling. One thing that makes waterfront real estate unique is that buyers are often evaluating things sellers don't even realize they're focusing on. For example, water access, the canal depth, any bridge restrictions, the dock conditions and boating functionality, flood zones and insurance costs too, outdoor living setup. And here's a big one: anticipated long-term maintenance. Sometimes sellers focus heavily on their kitchen upgrades and paint colors, the new flooring they had installed, or personal design choices, while buyers are thinking, how quickly can I get to the intracoastal from here? Will my boat fit on that lift? How much work does this dock need? How expensive will insurance be here? Waterfront buyers are often purchasing a lifestyle first. One of the biggest pricing mistakes happens when sellers unknowingly add emotional value into the asking price. And honestly, it's understandable. Maybe they remember teaching their kids to fish off the dock, years of boating memories, sunsets every evening, family parties by the pool, but buyers don't pay for someone else's memories. They pay for location, usability, condition, water access, and future potential. And sometimes waterfront sellers become convinced, my home is special, so buyers will pay significantly more. But buyers still compare properties very carefully. Another thing I'm seeing right now is that waterfront buyers are becoming much more educated. Buyers today research the flood insurance and elevation. They research dock and bulkhead permits, the navigability from the home, or potential renovation costs. And they will even research market trends before they even tour properties. So when a waterfront home is priced well above what buyers perceive as realistic value, many buyers simply move on quickly. And this is important. Even luxury waterfront buyers are value conscious. They may absolutely be willing to pay premium prices, but they still expect the property to make sense financially compared to the other waterfront opportunities out there. I'm Amanda Bolwell, and I specialize in Jacksonville waterfront real estate. This is something I talk through with waterfront sellers quite a bit because pricing strategy on waterfront property is very different from traditional residential real estate. And this is important. One thing many waterfront sellers don't initially realize is that sometimes the lot itself is actually the most valuable part of the property, especially in certain Jacksonville waterfront areas. Buyers may care more about the location and the lot width, the views, water depth and boating access, or rebuild potential, all of that more than the actual house itself. So occasionally, a seller invests heavily in interior upgrades thinking this should dramatically increase value, but buyers may still primarily evaluate the property based on the waterfront characteristics. This is why two homes with very different interiors can sometimes sell surprisingly close together if the lots are similar. One of the risks of emotional pricing is that waterfront homes can become stale on the market. And unfortunately, buyers notice that quickly. When a home sits too long, buyers start wondering what's wrong. They assume the seller may be unrealistic, or they begin waiting for future price reductions. Remember, the most important time for a listing is the very beginning, when excitement and attention are the highest. A well-positioned waterfront home can create strong interest early. An overpriced waterfront home often loses momentum. I always tell sellers, the goal is not simply to list high. The goal is to position the property correctly for the market. Because when waterfront homes are priced strategically, they attract more serious buyers. They generate stronger interest and create better negotiating power, and often produce better overall outcomes. If you're thinking about selling a waterfront property in Jacksonville or Northeast Florida, it's incredibly important to understand how today's waterfront buyers are actually evaluating value. Every waterfront property is unique. I know I say this all the time, things like the boating access, dock condition, the views, the elevation, flood zones, lot size, and future potential. They all play a major role. If you're curious about what buyers would actually value most about your waterfront property right now, feel free to reach out. Sometimes what drives value surprises sellers. On this channel, I talk a lot about Jacksonville waterfront real estate and the waterfront lifestyle right here in Northeast Florida. So if that interests you, make sure to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.